Out of the lost eons of Earth's past he comes. Clag, the Cro-Magnon hunter, the caveman club wielder who seeks one man in all Earth's teeming millions. Sheathed in the ice which gives him fantastic power, master of the Earth's natural forces, invulnerable to bullets or bombs, Clag stands like a colossus, defying Batman and Robin to match their mightiest blows against the Deep Freeze Menace. "50,000 years ago, a lone hunter named Clag stalks his prey. He is hunting a thief named Brug, who is stealing a food cache belonging to the local tribe. Clag and Brug begin a savage battle with one another, hitting each other with clubs until Brug collapses from exhaustion onto the ground, while Clag accidentally topples over him and careens off a cliff. He falls, and 500 centuries later, in a certain desolate area in northern Europe, a sudden earthquake wakes Clag from his slumber, frozen in a state of suspended animation, with his body dripped on by minerals from the stalactite ceiling above. The earthquake shakes Clag free, and he awakens, still completely covered in ice. Only one thing remains on a still confused Clag's mind. He must find and kill Brug. Using his now sharpened extrasensory abilities, he's able to lock on a nearby target that he identifies as Brug, and launches off into the sky. The unique minerals of the stalactite appear to have given this caveman some incredible new powers. And within moments, he is able to travel to India, where he attacks an alarmed Sikh man named Azam Jah, who is hunting a tiger. Though Azam is able to shoot Clag twice in the chest, the bullets are unable to penetrate Clag's icy barrier, and he's able to knock Azam out with a single blow from his frozen club. He stands over his prey, victorious but confused. This man looks like Brug, but his scent is not familiar. Again, he looks out to the world and spots another target, another Brug, and flies off into the sky. In no time at all, Clag is able to travel to Gotham City, where he finds the environment overwhelming and confusing. Nevertheless, he's able to find his new target, this time Batman. The dynamic duo put up the best fight they can against Clag, but they are unable to penetrate his icy armor, and he is an incredibly strong enemy. Clag is able to knock Batman to the ground and take off his mask, once again confused that his foe is not the true Brug. Clag spots another Brug and takes off, while Robin is able to recover Bruce's mask and return it on him before the police arrive. Batman is helped to his feet, and the dynamic duo gather shards of ice to investigate the nature of this caveman. In the Batcave, they learn of Clag's attack on Azam, and remark that the man looks uncannily familiar to Bruce Wayne himself. They were also able to determine the nature of Clag, confirming his identity as a caveman that lived over 50,000 years ago, and that the ice appeared to have interacted with the minerals he was bathed in from the stalactites, giving him strange and unusual powers. With this information, they are able to deduce two things. One, a means by which they will be able to defeat the caveman, and two, the identity of Clag's next target. In Spain, a matador, who also bears an uncanny resemblance to Bruce, Azam, and Brug, is attacked by Clag. The dynamic duo are able to arrive just in time, and Robin begins deftly distracting Clag using a wide array of techniques and gadgets, while Batman is able to circle Clag and cover him in a plastic sealant. The ice contains a number of pores through which the Cro-Magnon man is able to breathe. If those pores are covered, his air supply will be cut off, and Clag will be unable to fight. Sure enough, Batman is able to completely coat Clag in a plastic sealant, and he freezes in the spot. The bullfighting spectators erupt with resounding cheers as the dynamic duo have saved the day. Batman and Robin agree to take him to a nearby hospital, where the ice can be removed, and scientists will be able to study him while teaching Clag English, and in the process learning priceless information about the prehistoric world. Robin remarks that in the end, something truly great will come of Clag's story. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my recap and review of Detective Comics number 337. This one featuring a true Silver Age comic written by none other than Gardner Fox, creator of the Justice League, Justice Society of America, and writer of hundreds of awesome Silver Age comic book stories. So as you might imagine, I quite enjoyed this comic. It's a lot of fun. It feels right in line with what I would expect of pretty much any Silver Age comic. There's still a focus on the fun, campy action, but with a growing sense of sophistication when compared to the Golden Age, and with some pretty interesting ideas being floated around issue to issue. This issue being no exception to that. I quite enjoyed the overall story with Clag, and we got to see a lot of interesting artwork. That's no coincidence, because paired up with Gardner Fox is legendary Silver Age artist Carmine Infantino. And he does a lot of really ingenious stuff with what we see of Earth 50,000 years ago, and of the present day, spanning regions such as India, Gotham City, and Spain. It's a fun comic overall, in spite of a few weaknesses here and there. In our last episode of the 12 Days of Detective Comics, I mentioned how people of color all but didn't exist in this series. We have kind of broached that territory, featuring an Indian man, and him being a character with agency and identity and everything. But he's a spitting image of Bruce Wayne, as is the Matador, which I found a little bit weird. And once again, we kind of have dated cultural references. Not that bullfighting is out of date, but I certainly am not a fan of it myself, sitting in my 2018 ivory tower. But none of that stuff really bothers me, because this is a very focused and fun comic. It's a lot like Detective Comics number 332, an issue that wasn't written by Gardner Fox, but very much reads like this one. It's fun more than anything else. It's a polished, enjoyable read with a great take on two superheroes figuring out how to fight this caveman encased in this weird impenetrable ice. It looks goofy as all heck, and there's a reason why this hasn't been followed up on much in the modern age or in adaptations, because that would be hard to make look good outside of a comic book, especially not without someone like Carmine Infantino drawing it. But it's fun, and it totally works for the comic at hand and the comic in question. I have to be honest, I quite enjoyed this one. And out of the Detective Comics we reviewed at random as part of this series, this might be my favorite one yet. Its polished artwork and strong focus on basically a singular battle against this caveman gives it a real sense of identity, compared to, up until now, the comics sort of being a lot more all over the place. They're so crammed full of plot that they feature usually 3 different acts in about 10 pages of storytelling, which is very jam-packed, especially compared to what we're used to in the modern age. This comic does have quite a few different action sequences, but they're all in service of telling the story of Clag, the caveman, and it works pretty well for what it's trying to do. The way they go about beating this villain, the fact that Robin gets this big moment where he basically goes one-on-one with this super-powered meta prehistoric human, we'll say, is impressive, and I quite enjoyed this comic and issue overall. I would thoroughly recommend this one. We're at this point in 1965, of only 5 issues from the last one, but it still really feels like we're amping things up and getting more and more into the Silver Age, including some of the best Batman content out there. The interesting stuff about Detective Comics at this time period, and the Silver Age comics in general, is that they're kind of moving a mile a minute. Even though we've barely moved forward by issue count compared to The Strange Lives of Catman, it feels like we've really progressed in terms of what Batman's all about now and its sense of identity. These characters feel a lot more like characters, largely and probably thanking to the advent of Batman being adapted more and people getting a better sense of what he's all about. Because just like in Detective Comics number 332, it feels like we have more characters than we do vague ideas of characters, such as the comics from the Golden Age. And once again, I do want to stress, I don't mind the Golden Age, but these Silver Age comics are some of my favorite out there. And they're really cool for Batman as we gradually transition the series from the campy, fun adventures of Batman and Robin to the more sophisticated stuff we think of when we think of Batman. We're only a hair's breadth away from strange apparitions in the Neil Adams era of Batman, which will transform the character and what everyone thinks of him for a very long time. And that's pretty great. There will always be room for these older takes on Batman and Robin, the fun Adam West style stories or Batman 66 stuff that was recently done as a series, and that stuff really works in a positive way and in being a fun take on Batman and Robin and having these great little adventures. But as we're getting more into this more sophisticated stuff that makes Batman into more of a superhero and more of a serious detective at the same time, it's pretty fun. So far, we just have Batman and Robin fighting a caveman, but even that, the way it plays out in the actual comic, is much more sophisticated than how the Golden Age comics, which easily could have done this story, approached this thing. The approach is very different, and there's a stronger sense of sophistication to it all that I quite enjoyed. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Next up is a comic only a year from now. We're doing only one more of these 1960s Detective Comics issues, and I quite enjoy what's coming up next. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. If you like Comic Island, be sure to check out our Patreon page in the video description below. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.